bars and women in boutiques. And it's a saying that holds true for one local author who credits shopping trips for the special connection that she formed with her mother, grandmother, and aunt over the years. Author Rachel Levy Lesser says it was those special moments at the mall that helped her mom endure a long battle with cancer. And now she's sharing some of those fond, touching memories in a new book. It's called Shopping for Love. Please join me in welcoming author Rachel Levy Lesser. Thanks so much for being here.
So nice to be here.
And it's funny because a lot of women use any excuse to shop.
I know, they do.
We don't need one.
No, exactly. The more people have heard of my book, they always say, oh, I always shop with my mother or my friend or my sister or my grandmother. And you don't really realize that it's such a bonding experience until you look back at it and think about all the time you had together shopping.
And what was it that caused you to actually stop and think back and take account of those memories?
You know, as it said in the book, my mother lost her hard-fought battle with cancer about 5 years ago. And after she died, I was thinking of sort of ways I could pay a tribute to her and also ways of dealing with grief. And I had done a little research about writing as a healing tool. So I sat down and I started to think about what I could write about. And then I remembered something that my mother always told me, which was to write about what I knew. And what I knew about was shopping with her and her mother and her sister. So I started writing down all these stories about shopping together. And I realized that every shopping experience involved a life lesson, and it came together in this book.
It's so interesting because you start off the book by talking about your grandmother,
yeah,
and how she grew into this shopper, and then she had two daughters, one of which was your mother, and how that experience really did become something that bonded the family, and it was an experience. Like there was a reason. If you lose a button off your shirt, we're going to go shopping to find a new shirt.
And I was lucky enough to be the only granddaughter in the generation.
Look at you.
So from the earliest age, she always took me shopping, and my mother always said that she was my grandmother and my personal shopper.
Yeah.
And as she became older and more forgetful and on in her years, it was my mother who took over in that role, and her sister with her as well. And when my mother became sick, shopping became even more special because it was time spent together. And it was actually, shopping gave her hope for the future. Because as I said in the book, it gave her something to look forward to. Even if she didn't have a place to wear a dress to, she knew that it was for a time in the future.
Well, tell me about one of those life lessons. What you say there were several that you got, each shopping trip. What were some of them?
One of the things that comes to mind is kind of a funny story. It's when I was a senior in college. I actually went to Penn here in Philadelphia. And my mom came down because I was interviewing for jobs, and I needed to get my first official suit. So my mother took me to the Banana Republic on Walnut Street. And I really wanted something plain, black, simple. I didn't want to have to stand out. And she insisted that I get this short brown suit with orange and other bright colors in it. And I remember having a fight with her in the dressing room about it. And she said to me, Rachel, you should be remembered for you, and you're not like everybody else, and you should stand out, and the interviewer should remember that. And so looking back on it, I realized it really was a life lesson learned through shopping. At the time, we laughed about it, but I wore the suit, and I got a job.
Oh, so, good for you. Good for you. And now you have this wonderful book that you said was cathartic, I'm sure.
Definitely.
And helped you in the healing process. And it's going to, other people will see themselves in this book as well. I've gotten
such a great response from it, definitely.
It's called Shopping for Love. You're actually going to be at the Penn Bookstore, right?
I am going to be there. That's my next signing on February 12th at 7 p.m. up at Penn.
Fabulous.
So I'm excited to go up there.
You'll notice all kinds of places from our area in this book as well.
Philadelphia story as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Rachel
for having
Levy
me.
Lesser. We're back with more 10 right after this.
Great. Thanks.